Welcome to the Chi podcast.
These are the people that I've met in my journeys and introducing you to their perspective and what their mission is and what they're trying to achieve.
For episode number 2, I welcome Claudia from YourUniqueMovement. Claudia is an authenticity coach, and during our conversation I found she was very connected with herself, and her level of presence brought me deeper into our conversation and me deeper into my presence. Our conversation started off with a bit of an introduction to Claudia and her journey, and then we moved through all matter of topics on authenticity, perspectives, philosophy, inner child stuff. I think you'll get a lot of value out of this. So without further ado, I welcome Claudia to the Chi podcast, People of the Path, episode 2. Hi guys, here we have Claudia from YourUniqueMovement. I met Claudia on Instagram. She's an authenticity coach and she works in the areas of body, mind, and spirit. So you know that I was going to vibe with her. I'm pleased to welcome Claudia to the People of the Path podcast, where she can share a little bit about her journey and where she's at. So Claudia, did you want to make a little bit of an introduction to yourself and who you are and what you've been up to?
Yeah, sure. Hello, Jeremy, and hello, everyone who is watching this podcast. I'm very pleased to be here. And as I was sharing with Jeremy before the recording, half of me is very excited to be here. Half of me is a bit nervous, but still I'm here and I'm embracing everything that I'm experiencing right now. This is part of my inner experience. So I'm embracing, I'm feeling it right now, and I'm not going to try to change it or anything. So about me, so that's a really powerful question to start with, Jeremy. What can I say about myself? Well, I need to connect with my heart to answer that question, because my mind wants to say a lot of things about this, about my journey, about my education, about my work experience, about all of these things. And they are all part of my journey, and I feel they are all important. And at the same time, my heart is saying, I have this commitment with myself to be authentic and to keep things as simple as they can be. So to simplify things, because my mind tends to complicate things a lot. So I have been simplifying things in my life, getting in touch more with my intuition, with what I feel, even though I cannot control my mind. So I always have these thoughts going on. But right now, what I feel, I'm observing everything that is happening within me. And even though all these thoughts are coming and are convincing me that I need to do certain things and I need to say certain things, I'm observing them and I'm choosing what I feel I need to do or what I need, because it's a state of being present. And this is a commitment I made with myself. I am trying my best to honor this commitment. And to be authentic, it's about being, simply be with this experience I'm having right now. It's to be present enough to witness everything. Even if it can be painful, if it's confusing, if it's a bit messy at times, it's to be with this experience without trying to control it, to say, no, this shouldn't happen, it's wrong, because my mind will say, no, all right, I cannot control this, so stop this. Let's just get distracted, let's just do something. And I'm choosing to be with the experience. So I don't know if this is answering your question.
You couldn't have answered that any more beautifully if I had imagined it. The first point you made, how your mind wanted to define you by job title and otherwise, I think that really hit a good note with me, where I was so glad that you had brought that up, because it's so tempting when we go to explain who we are that we define it by job title, age, sex, whatever it may be. And that's definitely been a part of my journey to dissociate and disidentify from form, and try and connect with that inner being, which is hard to convey what that is, because to explain who you are at the depth of your being is a feeling rather than something that the mind can wrap itself around. And I come to odds with that quite often, because you want to say, even to say I am Jeremy, that's just my personality for this moment. And that's not really who I am. So to really dive into your individual expression, yeah, it's difficult to say. If someone says, so who are you? You know, anything you really say is of the mind, but it's a good pointer to how you might express yourself, I guess.
Yes, it's like you trying to justify your existence by saying, you know, I did this, I am that. And it's like you're trying to prove something, and you don't need to do that. Really. If you go deeper within you, you don't need to do that, because it's who you are. You cannot translate that. You cannot put that into words. It's something that you feel. And if other people are open enough to feel it, great. If not, great anyway. That's
absolutely.
My perspective. That's what I have been experiencing.
And when you connect with that, you feel enough, and you don't feel that you need to inflate your sense of self with what you've done or what you have. And I think a lot of people can get caught up, and most of us, I'm sure, have at one point or another caught up in identifying with our story as being who we are. Oh, these are the things that have happened to me. This is what I have. This is where I'm at. This is who I am, which when you awaken from that, it's sometimes by force and sometimes not pleasant, but ends up being quite liberating. I'm sure you agree.
Yes, it is. It is. Because one of the things that I have been witnessing is we have this, we can call it authentic self. It's our true nature. We can put it this way. And then we have this, we can call it like a constructed self. So our authentic self is when you go back to your childhood, you were authentic. So you were just expressing yourself like, I want to do that, and I'm going to do it. I'm feeling nervous, I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling sad. I'm going to express that. I don't care what other people are going to think about that. So that's what authenticity is all about, is I'm feeling this way, so I'm not going to pretend I'm feeling something else. But then we are surrounded by people. So if you look at a baby or a child, then they are being authentic. They are just doing what they want. They are expressing what they feel like doing it at that certain point. And then there are adults around them. And they try to say, don't do this. It's not an acceptable behavior to this one, or you shouldn't feel this way, or you should feel that way, or sit still, be quiet, all of those things.
The conditioning.
And yes, exactly. Then the conditioning starts. And the thing here is we perceive that as I am not good enough. I'm not good enough. So, because as a child just needs to be loved, seen, and accepted. And then eventually we realize that we need to do something in order, or we need to behave in a certain way to get that. And then we build this constructed self. We started with these coping strategies, but they are not who we are, really. And then we carry on and we move on through life and we continue with these coping strategies. And we are not being authentic when we are doing that. We really need to get in touch with that and to observe how we normally behave. And this is automatic. We are not aware sometimes that we are doing that. So we just need to stop for a little bit and observe everything we are doing, all the thoughts that come to our minds, and be present to our physical sensations as well, because our body have this wisdom and it's presenting us the truth of what we are experiencing, in the sense that if I'm comfortable with something, then my body will feel calm. I will have a lot of sensations, but they will be like comfortable sensations, like pleasant sensations. If not, then I will feel something is off. Something is not flowing. I won't feel that state of flow, we can say.
Yes.
So if we connect with these sensations, with these feelings, then we have a good indicator of what is happening in our experience right now. You are committed to be authentic, then it's not possible at all times. And this is being realistic. It's being realistic.
Difficulty, isn't it? Because you want to be a certain way and then you're not, and then that's when you feel like you're less than, and you're like, and the guilt comes in, and then you need to learn to love yourself unconditionally despite acting in accordance with how you would choose to.
Yes, exactly. And the other day, a friend of mine was saying, you know what, I cannot behave as a child right now. It doesn't make sense to me. Because when you talk about connecting with your inner child, people think that you have to behave as a child. And, it's not the idea. It's not the idea at all. Is when you connect with your inner child, and people talk about that a lot, but do we really know what that means in our lives, like in our daily lives? From my experience, to do that is to create this safe space for our inner child. But the safe space is within us. Yeah. It's within us. I need to be comfortable with what I'm feeling. So I will create this safe space so my inner child can come and teach me how to do things in an authentic way, in a creative way. Because there are certain things as adults we need to do, boring kind of stuff, to be really honest here. And we can look at that and say, yes, I need to do all of these. And at the same time, I can do this in a creative way. So I can get in touch with my inner child, and my inner child is going to show me how to do things in a fun and creative way. And still, I will be able to do that.
Is there a technique or a specific method that you've found to engage your inner child when you're doing something during the day?
It's just to have the intention really here.
Okay, yeah.
Having the intention to connect with my inner child, because sometimes we are just up in our minds. Oh, we have to do this and we have to do that, and tomorrow this and that, and a lot of, doing stuff like I need to do this, I need to do that, then a lot of tasks. And oh my God, I need to take a deep breath and okay, all right. So let me just connect with what I need to do. I need to do all of these things. Right. How am I going to do this? I can do this in a creative way. So I will have the intention right now to connect with my inner child and let my inner child show me how I can do this.
Yeah.
You can even close your eyes, connect with your heart, because your inner child is your heart, really, and ask. And even you can visualize something, you can feel something. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As long as you have that intention. And then you can do that. And even throughout your day, you can ask your inner child, what do you need right now? What are your needs? Because this is something as well that our minds convince us that we need certain things. We don't need those things. We want those things.
Yeah.
we want those things. We don't need them really.
For sure.
And our inner child is going to say, you need this, not I want this. Saying that, our minds, they are here to help us as well, to observe all of this, to witness all of this inner movement that is happening within us. And it's not part of our job to control our mind. And even to control, when you feel that word and the sensations of it, to control, it's like, oh my God, I cannot move my body when I feel that word. Control, no. Exactly. So it's just to observe. I will observe my thoughts, my mind, and I won't change it. I won't change my thoughts. It's not my intention, but I can choose what I do with them. I can feed them or not. It's my decision.
Yes, good point. And with discipline and versus controlling the mind, would you say that discipline is not about controlling the mind, but just listening to the inner guidance, perhaps? Let's say we're in a negative mind state and we want to put that to a positive one. It's about not feeding or giving attention and energy to the lower quality thoughts, shall we say, and paying more attention or auto-suggesting more positive things to shift the mind to positive. I'm just trying to think how to frame that without calling it controlling the mind.
Yes. Even when you talk about discipline, what I feel is, let me just feel this for a moment.
Self-discipline, may I?
What I feel is like there is this state of flow, we can say. And if we connect with it, we know exactly what we need. There is this inner wisdom. And I can get your point in terms of discipline, that you want to create new habits in your life. You want to, if you keep procrastinating or doing these kind of things, you want to create certain habits so you feel better with yourself and with what you're feeling and all of that. But what I have been observing is there are a lot of programs and things and courses and trainings and retreats and things like that, where you have this program and all of these habits that you should create in order to feel this and to feel that. And my experience is sometimes they are not authentic to me. Because when we connect with our inner child, as children, we knew exactly what to do, what we wanted to do, what was pleasant and what was unpleasant. And we were just flowing. We were just flowing with all of this. And as adults, we want to control everything. We want to know exactly how to do things, when to do things. Obviously, we can combine these two energies, which is masculine energy. And I'm not talking about gender here, I'm talking about energies.
Yes.
So we have this masculine energy and feminine energy. So we can balance these two energies in a way that we feel that we need to do something. Like, I need to do something. I need to do these things. I have this habits that I want to create. I know they will be good for me, or at least I can try because I don't know. And the children wants to try. So children want to try. As adults, we just want to do certain things in a certain way. But as children, well, let's just try it and see how it goes. So I can have all these habits and I can say, okay, I will try. I will try and I will do this. So once a day or once a week or once a month, I will do this. So this is my commitment. And how am I going to do that? When am I going to do that? So that's when we can use our feminine energy. So I know I need to do this, but when I will connect with what I feel. And then I can do that when I feel it. And I can also get in touch with my feminine energy in a way that I don't know how to do this, but my feminine energy is going to guide me.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually have a variation. It basically uses the principles that you described there, where let's say in the morning, I know that I thrive well when I get a bit of movement, where I have like a flexibility and quietness practice like yoga and something for stillness like meditation. But whenever I wake up, it's not always with the same energy. Sometimes, like, I can't just follow a rigid plan from like the masculine, like, logic structure. Sometimes I have to feel what my body needs in that moment. But at the same time, I recognize that a morning routine is beneficial for me. So the way that I've bridged this is by having a block in the morning for movement where I'll have several options, which will go from, if I've got low energy, I'll go for a walk, or I can do meditation, or I can do yoga, or if I have high energy, I can go for a run, or I can do vinyasa yoga. And basically, I'll be able to swap each of those elements around, and there'll also be various options within each of them that can cater to how my body's feeling at that time. So I can still honor the feminine aspect and go honor what I feel I need, but at the same time follow the structure that will give me the right start to the day.
That's perfect. That's a perfect example. Yes, because at least you have several options. And even maybe you might not feel like moving at all. And that's another thing. And what do we do in those circumstances? Do we judge ourselves? Like, well, you need to do these things, so just go and do it. What I feel is, yes, even when I'm not feeling like doing that, even though I know it's good for me, I can relax and say, that's fine. Today I'm not doing this because I'm not feeling like it. Then I will see tomorrow what happens.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Often we want to do the things that we think will make us feel better, when sometimes I've been through burnout and like a lot of fatigue and low energy periods, and I'm no stranger to forcing myself to do things. And I can definitely attest to pushing yourself when you actually needed rest, that it doesn't serve a beneficial purpose. And I just wanted to say that because I felt like there might be the odd person listening that's more in the masculine polarity going, no, you just need to force yourself and need to push yourself, and you can't just let yourself rest. And you know, because I think some people can take that to the extreme, and or at least in the way that they hear that, in allowing yourself to rest sounds weak by some people's perception. But I can definitely say forcing yourself to do things when you need the rest ends up just driving you further to the ground, and then you need more rest as a consequence.
Yes, exactly. And it's good to have a structure. I think it's very important to have that to support you so you can feel safe. And at the same time, to be a structure that is flexible. It's not strict. So you have that structure because we need that. It's our masculine energy. We need that in order to feel safe. But it's within us. We have that structure within us. And then we can actually look at that and say, okay, but it's flexible, so I can do this in the morning or in the afternoon or even at night. It doesn't matter. I will see how it goes. And then, so my perspective here is you can have the structure, then you can flow with it. And then you create your own structure, we can say, your own habits where you don't have any structure at all. You just flow. You're in a state of flow. You're in a state of flow that you created new habits. You know what is beneficial to you. You have those tools available and you can use them when you feel like it, because then you have several tools you can use in certain periods of your life or phases or even moments. So it's just to connect with your resources and then use them when you need them.
And I think that's a good point, that early on, it's worth creating that structure and having a bit of a strategy to implement the habits, while they're in the conscious competence type phase where you haven't yet become so certain of them that you can do them automatically. And then when they are ingrained, then it can really open up to the flexibility to intuitively know what your body wants in that moment. Because I think when we're trying to work out how to do something and then also feel what we want, that's too much uncertainty, where it's a bit easier in the beginning when we're not so certain of a habit to go, okay, yeah, this is what we're doing, and then wait for it to integrate until it becomes that tool that we can lean on.
Exactly. It's to have this curiosity really about things and trying them. Why not?
That's such a good point, that having that inner child-like exploration quality, because how much I've been at fault for this to go, I want to meditate again like I used to. It has to be 2 hours a day and I have to get to that deep state of inner being. And if I'd never meditated before, I could have approached that with that childlike quality because I wouldn't have any expectation, and I could go, oh, okay, what's this about? I'm just gonna, and you meditate for a minute, and you're like, that's awesome. But then once you've got an expectation of what you can do, you can easily take that into what you should be doing.
Exactly. Yes, you force yourself to do things deep within you. You don't want to do them. You don't want to do them. So you're not being authentic with yourself when you're doing that, and you will feel bad. You will feel a lot of physical sensations that will tell you there's something here you need to be aware of.
Definitely, I've felt that when I've meditated. Let's say in the past, I've got to a deeper practice at the peak of what I have. And then, when you don't continue that practice, your ability to go as deep into it gets less. Problem is, in my mind, I think I can just jump straight back to where I was. And so when you go to meditate after 6 months of not meditating and you find that your focus and attention concentration is less, you can easily beat yourself up and feel guilty, like you said. And I've tried to sit there and it's just been so uncomfortable.
Yes, I used to do that a lot as well, to sit for half an hour, 1 hour, or more than that. And then I realized I was doing that to escape reality, my humanity, to be honest with you. Now that I look back, it was my experience. And then I was feeling that I was feeling great when I was doing that. But at the same time, I wasn't present enough for my experience. I wasn't there really. So that's when I started to study a little bit about mindfulness. And it made a lot of sense to me because it's something you can do everywhere, anytime you want. So when you're eating, when you're having a shower, when you're walking, when you're having a conversation with someone, you can be present. And present to your own experience. It's not a matter of just being there and being in your mind. And even if you are in your mind for a little bit, then you can notice that and experience that. And at the same time, mindfulness is just, once again, is this state of flow, of being present. And for me, it makes a lot of sense, because in the past, I was trying to escape my humanity as much as I could, because I didn't want to get in touch with my feelings, especially the ones that I labeled as wrong. I couldn't have them, like anger or sadness. No,
Yeah.
I never feel sad. Please, I'm happy all the time.
Yeah.
I don't have any reasons to be sad, please.
In that new age spirituality right there.
Yes, exactly. A lot of cliches. Oh, I'm love, I am peace, and I am all of that. Yes, we are. Yeah, we are that. We are love, and we are hate as well. We are happiness, and we are sadness.
Positive, negative.
Yes.
Light, dark.
Exactly. That's authenticity. It's I will embrace everything, because it's easy to try to escape unpleasant feelings. It's very easy to do that. And we are used to do these things because when we were young as children, then the adults were saying, yeah, just forget about that. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. And then we still have these voices in our head saying it's not a big deal, just forget about that, just go and watch a movie, just go and play, just go and whatever, just get distracted. That's the essence of this message, just get distracted. And we are good at doing these things. That's why there are so many addictions, because we just want, and I'm including myself, because I have parts within myself that just want to feel good. And it's good to feel good, great. Yeah. But it's not real to force myself to feel good all the time, or to tell myself or to convince myself that if I'm not feeling good, that I need to feel that way. I don't need to feel that way all the time. It's not real. It's not authentic. So am I embracing that experience of not feeling good or not? Or am I labeling that?
I went through depression when I was younger, and I would say at one point it was because I felt that I should be always feeling positive and good. And then there came a time in the natural cycles where I was feeling low, and I went, no, but I should be up here. And because my mind was focused at where I should be, but I was feeling here, I was feeling that separation, which was coming up as depression, when in reality, we all go through peaks and troughs of energy, and you're not going to be at full positivity and energy all the time. And accepting that.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yes. And you can see a lot of coaching programs where people are promising you like this oasis, like, oh, you will get to this point where you will have everything you want, everything you need, you will feel good all the time, you will have this magical life, it's going to be great, it's going to be awesome, you will feel great all the time. It's not real. It's not real.
I think where that's coming from, though, perhaps is pitched at the large portion of the population that are caught up in suffering, and perhaps comparatively to their current state, to letting go of, the false self, really, and stepping into that authenticity, it would be a more blissful state, no doubt, comparatively. But there will be the times of emotional ups and downs still.
Yes, because life is this movement, and we have this movement alive within us. So what are we doing with it? How do we deal with this movement? I think this is the most important thing here. And there are a lot of things available out there. And sometimes people just need that rigid structure, and that's great. I've been there myself. I needed that structure. I needed to have tools that I could create this safe space. And at the same time, then I was questioning that. I was questioning if that was in alignment with what I felt. So then I was having more questions than answers. And I think I'm still there. I'm still there. I'm still questioning everything, and feeling more than actually having the need to have a certain answer, because my mind wants to know everything, and I'm accepting my mind as it is, and at the same time saying, okay, we don't need to know everything really. We don't need to know everything. We don't need to understand everything, and it's okay. It's part of the process, because there was a phase of my life that I wanted to know everything. I was studying a lot. I was making all these courses and trainings and workshops, and oh my God, I was doing so much stuff. I wanted to learn something that could explain my existence, to be honest with you. And I couldn't find anything that could explain my existence, to be honest. And then I realized there was this belief here that I wasn't good enough. So to be good enough, I needed to be intelligent. I needed to have all this knowledge so I could have like a very intelligent conversation, and people could not question my wisdom and all of that. So, you know, that now I am aware of that, but at that time I didn't know. So then I think it was like 2 years ago, I became aware of all of that, and I said to myself, no, I'm not studying anything anymore. I will stop that, because I need to listen to my inner voice. I keep going outside and trying to learn something, to listen to all of these gurus, because I believe they know best. They have the wisdom. They know exactly what they are talking about. I don't know anything about that, so I need to learn, and I need to be like them. And now I look back and I think, yes, I needed to experience that, to get in touch with my inner wisdom and say, look, I don't need to listen to all of this, because I have all the wisdom I need within me. And so I need to stop listening to all of these voices and listen to my own voice, and letting my inner voice come out and have expression in my life and in my relationships and in what I'm doing, really.
Absolutely. And that's a good point, that when you're caught up in the mind's desire for information and knowledge, that's something that's always going to fluctuate. You're going to need to continue keeping it topped up. Someone's going to challenge it. If they end up disproving what you know or threatening your belief, you feel like you need to defend or attack. And because it's threatening your sense of self, if you identify with you as a knowledgeable, smart person, and then they prove that wrong, it's then impacting your self-image as such. Whereas when you get into the felt wisdom rather than thought knowledge, then that's something that's always going to be there, and it's not something that needs to be proven or disproven, because you can say, well, I feel this to be true, and that's not something that's up for debate, because that's your unique perspective and feeling.
Perfect. Yes, it's exactly that. Yes. It takes a lot of vulnerability to do this, but at the same time, you're not trying to convince anyone about what you feel. Try to convince someone about what you think, not what you feel. Because when you feel something, you're just saying, well, this is what I feel. This is my inner experience. And you can say, no, that's not your inner experience. You cannot say that because you don't know.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's right.
you can say, I'm not feeling that. I'm feeling that there's something more there. You can say that. You can connect with myself and you can feel as well something.
And I
But
think
at the same time, you're not feeling what I'm feeling.
I think that's a good point. I think the difference is when we go from the mind, we're saying this is the way it is.
Yes, exactly. And even this has like a direct impact on your relationships. Because the thing is, when you communicate your truth, this is what you feel. This is what you feel. And you can say something like, because if you look at this, people might think, oh yeah, but yes, you will be feeling all the time. You won't have an opinion about things, and you become like a vegetable or something like that. No, not at all. The thing is, when you connect more with what you're feeling, you are able to communicate authentically. So, and to communicate authentically, you're not blaming other people. There are no victims here. You look at a situation and you say, in this situation, I felt this way because I have this need. But for you to do that, you need to be able to connect with what you're feeling. Otherwise, you cannot communicate this. You're going to blame the other person. You're going to say that the person is wrong. You're trying to convince yourself that you are a victim of the circumstances and all of these things. So you can play this game over and over again. And we know how to do that. Honestly, we know how to play this game.
And how often do we go through that and then only later realize that we process what we were feeling and go, oh, sorry, I was acting that way because I was feeling like this. Whereas if you'd actually become aware of that in the moment and expressed how you were feeling, it wouldn't have blown up into the chaos that it often does.
Yes, but even if you do that afterwards, because it happens a lot, even if it happens afterwards and you are able to communicate that and say, I had that reaction because it was a reaction. It was an impulsive reaction. We all have impulses. It's part of our humanity. So part of embracing our humanity is also to embrace that. It's okay, right. This is my automatic pilot, we can say. So my automatic reaction, that's great. And at the same time, I felt that and I connected with what I was feeling at that moment. And now I'm able to communicate to you what I felt at that time.
Yeah.
In a vulnerable way. Because most people don't get in touch with their vulnerability because they have to admit that they have these strategies and they are unhealthy most of the times.
Sometimes that can be the even more vulnerable, intensive way that after the fact, you've then got to let the ego subside and, drop the masculine side of things and soften and go, actually, you know what, this is how I was feeling. And that can be almost more difficult than just saying what comes up in the moment.
It is definitely. I wasn't doing that myself. I can tell you for sure. I wasn't doing that until like 2 years ago, because I had this belief that I needed to be the good girl all the time. So I needed to be happy and pleasant, and be calm all the time. And I wasn't communicating what I was feeling. Because deep within me, I felt like if I do that, people won't love me, won't accept me. Yep. So I was hiding all of this. I was repressing all my feelings. And then when I started to be aware that I was doing this, I made a commitment with myself, like from now on, I will get in touch with what I'm feeling and I will communicate that to people around me in my relationships. And in the beginning, it was just so hard. It was so hard. I was just so nervous. I was so anxious just imagining that I had to do it. It was really hard, I can tell you. It still is, but it's not as hard as in the beginning. So because I was talking about feelings, and for me, that was a language I couldn't understand. I didn't know how to communicate that because I wasn't allowing myself to feel those sensations in first place. So how could I communicate something I wasn't opening myself enough to experience? So what I did was, okay, from now on, I will feel this situation. I will feel all of this, all the sensations, all these thoughts that come to my mind, all these thoughts saying, don't say anything. No, just don't go that way. What are other people going to think about you? And all these thoughts that were coming to my mind. And then I was like, okay, yes, I know this is normally the path I take, just repressing everything and not saying what I feel like I need to say. And then what I realized is in the beginning, it was hard to communicate that. And at the same time, when I was doing that, I could see that other people were becoming vulnerable as well in the process, because I was talking about feelings, I wasn't blaming the other person. So the other person didn't feel like he or she had to justify. It didn't feel attacked. We can say that.
Yeah.
Didn't feel the need to have a defense or something like that, and it was powerful because then I was talking about myself, and normally the other person would say, "Oh, I didn't realize I was causing that. My behavior was causing that, or whatever." And the thing was, when I started to do that, I wasn't even doing that to have that impact. I was just doing that because I was being honest with myself. It was a commitment with myself I was honoring. And I had to do that even though other people couldn't understand, or they could not even respect what I was saying. It doesn't matter because I wasn't trying to control what the outcome would be of that situation. I wasn't trying to do that. In the beginning, I can say I was, to be honest. I was trying to control a little bit. I was like, I don't know how the other person is going to react. Well, let me just see how I'm going to say that. So I was trying to control a little bit how I was going to communicate that. But then eventually I was like, no, this is a commitment I have with myself. I'm honoring my truth. And I release all the expectations.
Yeah, and there's a few things that I wanted to comment on that. So
Sure.
I guess first off, when you are not expressing yourself the way that you would authentically do so, it can definitely, like, let's say you're gonna just always be positive and someone's talking bad to you and you're just like, no, I'm just gonna be positive and I'm just not gonna give this energy. The problem is you often walk away from that situation and then you feel bad about it because you've allowed yourself to be spoken to in a bad way. And so even though you were trying to be positive at the time, you've suppressed what you were authentically wanting to express, and now you're still feeling negative as a consequence. Where the problem is, like you were saying, when you've been so used to making that choice to be positive, it's very difficult to have the courage to act different to how your past patterns have been. And that begins with having awareness of the fact of what you're feeling in that moment that you want to express yourself, because I think it can be really hard to make that decision if you're not even aware that you aren't comfortable with it. So I guess understanding your boundaries and what your authentic expression would be is the first part to that. When you do communicate yourself authentically and you take the emphasis off having to control the situation, and instead of trying to reclaim power, like let's say you didn't express yourself authentically and then you were like, oh, now I need to try and make myself feel better by controlling the situation. When you express yourself authentically, it seems to, we're going to cut this bit out for sure. What I was trying to say was when you express yourself authentically, it's not about the other person, and it ends up having a much more positive effect on the situation.
Yeah, and there's another thing here that is very important is you live with yourself all the time. This is the closest person you have. So if you're living with yourself, we can say that, then you have to feel with whatever you're feeling. That's why, for me, it's so important to have these commitments with myself and honor them. Because the thing is, you are with certain people, like you can spend like an hour, or you can live with someone, but at the same time, you're all the time with yourself. And if you're not good, you don't feel good, if you're not being authentic, then you have to deal with the consequences of it. And they can be very physical, and they are. You can feel that in your body. You can have diseases because of that. So the thing here is, okay, first of all, I need to be aware of all of these dynamics that are happening within me. Let me just listen here. That's what witnessing is all about, is to listen to all of that. Sometimes this is a mindful practice. It's like, let me just sit down and listen to everything my mind has to say about this subject. Okay, I'm listening. And my mind is going to say a lot of things. You need to do this and that because, and all of this speech. I'm like, okay, great. Okay, I witnessed everything. I'm not feeding that. I'm just present enough to know everything that is happening within me. And then I will decide. And this is great when we need to make a decision. It's okay, let me just listen everything my mind has to say about this. And I can even write that down. Or I can even record an audio talking about it and listen to it afterwards, which is interesting. And then I can feel this. So I have like 2 options here, or more than that. And I can feel the first one and connect with my body. How does it feel? And then the second one, and then the third one, and so on. And then I can look at all of this, and then I can decide. It's my responsibility to decide. And this is a path of assuming my responsibility. I am responsible for what I do and the way I do things. It doesn't mean I'm going to be perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is really, because we don't know what perfection is. We talk about perfection, but we don't have a clue what that is, because I don't think imperfection is perfect. And that's what I feel we need to embrace as well. It's it's all right. I had this idea that I had to be perfect, but this isn't real. The real me is going to be experiencing things. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. They are just experiences.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, from a lower perspective, we can definitely get caught in the dualistic way of looking of good, bad, negative, positive, light, dark. But from a higher perspective, you can realize that they're 2 sides of the same coin, if you will. And it's definitely when you can start to solve the paradoxes, shall we say, and balance each of the dualities and find the center point in the middle, that you often find a lot more harmony in life.
Yeah, exactly. It's to be grounded, really. It's to be present to your experience, because it's so easy to think about the past and relive that over and over again, and then to think about the future. Obviously, we need to plan certain things. Yeah, right. We need to do that. But if we keep doing that, then we are not here. We are not witnessing our experience. And so maybe because it's something that we are not used to. Maybe we need to create that habit of, okay, let me just stop here, and I encourage people to do that, even if it's just for 5 minutes a day, just do that. Because then what I did, I started like that. I said, like for 5 minutes, I'm going to sit here with me and witnessing my inner experience. And then I was like, no, 5 minutes isn't enough, because there are a lot coming to the surface. There's so much here, and it feels good and it feels bad at times, but good or bad, once again, dualities. It is what it is. So I'm just experiencing this, and I'm going to be here. It's like looking at ourselves like we are children, and we need this attention, because when we are doing this, we are just dedicating this time to ourselves and saying, you deserve this time, and I'm here with you.
Absolutely. And that actually brings us full circle to something that I wanted to comment on at the start, which was when you were describing the inner child and intention setting. And it occurred to me that the important thing is to actually create the space to do that, because so often we want to know, even I ask, what's the technique? How do you do it? And when really it just requires to actually create the space in your day to sit with that intention and feel into it, and it's going to automatically deliver that outcome. But trying to mentally work through it, how often do we go, okay, this is the way to do it? And you can know how to do everything, but at the end of the day, you need to actually sit there and do it. And definitely creating space, like meditation's taken on a meme-like cliche concept, at least in my mind, where to meditate has now become this big mental task that's quite draining. Whereas if I were to just go sit in stillness and observe myself and thoughts and be with myself, that feels quite actionable. Meditation feels like it requires all this energy.
Yeah, sure. And even to do this, it doesn't need to be a boring thing to do, because some people might be listening to us and say, no, I don't want to sit still for 5, 10, 15 minutes. Come on, I don't want to do that. And that's great. So you can ask your inner child, what do you want me to do? And I can share something that I do to connect with my inner child. I just put some music on, and I give my inner child permission to express herself with movement. So I connect with my movement, with the way I'm breathing, all of that. So I'm connecting with all of that. And then connecting with my sound as well. So I give myself permission to speak, to scream, to sing if I feel like it. And my inner child loves to sing, so that's great. So I'm creating that space, and it's very dynamic, it's very active. I'm not sitting still, but there are days I feel like, well, I'll just go to nature, because I think that's the perfect spot to be when you're connecting with your inner nature, your true nature. To go to nature, you connect with your inner nature as well, because we are all connected. Yes, we are all connected. So we can do that. We can do that when we are walking. We can do that when we are having a shower, and really listening to the sound of the water and all of that, what is happening, and the smell of the shampoo or whatever. It's just having that intention. Okay, this is my intention. I'm going to do that. Or even if you like to do some painting or drawing or whatever, it doesn't matter. Just connect with your inner child. And if you need to draw or to dance or to sing or to play an instrument, if you feel like it, just do it. Just do it. And even be flexible enough to just to try different things. Like, okay, let me just try this. I will see how it goes. Don't follow my advice. Don't follow my advice at all, or anyone's advice. Just get in touch with your inner child, because that's the way to go. It's your It's your inner wisdom, you see, just having expression in your life.
I agree with that. I think it's important to understand the underlying intent of how you want to feel or what you want to do, even like express yourself, and then find the methods of doing that rather than going, oh, Claudia says you have to go paint. Claudia says you have to go sing. And then you're trying to fit that, where it's better off going from the top intent and working out how that wants to manifest.
Yeah, sure. But you can always try, because sometimes we tend to think, oh no, I've never tried that. As adults, we are kind of rigid, like, no, I'm not good at that. We say, I'm not good at that. It's a way to say, I'm not even going to try. And our inner child isn't like that at all. Like, great, let's do it. Or even can say, no, I'm not doing it. But it's authentic. It's not because I'm not good at that. No, because I don't feel like it. That's because when you ask a child, do you want to do this? They are going to say straight away, yes or no. Or they can ask something about it, like, oh, can you explain that? Oh, and have more information about that. But they are not going to justify why they aren't doing certain things. They're just going to say yes or no. Yes, I want to do that. I don't want to do that. Or maybe and if you ask them, what would you prefer to do? They're going to say, I want to do this. Great, let's do it.
Much more authentic approach rather than saying, I'm not good at that, which perhaps comes from a concern of not being at the level that a adult should be. Like if you haven't drawn much and then you're going to draw at the level of a 5-year-old, you might be like, oh, I'm not good at that. And you'd be concerned about looking foolish or something to that effect.
Yeah, sure. Yes. So this is my approach to life at the moment. And it might change, and it will change. Maybe in a year's time, I will listen to this conversation. I will say, "Oh my God, I changed so much," and it's part of the journey anyway. It's part of the journey, because when I listen to podcasts I recorded like 2 years ago, I'm like, okay, yes, that was my perspective at that time, and it keeps changing. It keeps changing, and it's important to also be open to this movement, because this is a movement, this is a flow, this is like an experiment. We are here. This is I normally say that this is a school here. This life, this planet, the people we connect with. We are just here to learn, to experience all of this.
Absolutely.
Without any expectations. So sometimes we are just too rigid and saying we need to do certain things in a certain way, and that's not serving us at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, isn't it? The higher you go in perspective, you can look at it from a number of different ways. We could look at this as a school of life where we're expanding ourself, and our energy is, expanding and refining and becoming stronger. Or you could just simply look at it as we're here to experience and see how different things feel, which ends up having that energy expansion consequence anyway, but perhaps takes a bit of the pressure off having to do anything, because it's a natural byproduct of being authentic and experiencing fully.
Yes, exactly. And the main thing here is the foundation of everything is the relationship you have with yourself. That's the main thing, because then the other relationships you will have in your life are going to reflect the quality of lack of it, of this relation we have with ourselves. If I'm experiencing just half of my potential, of what I have, of my resources, then I will go to life, or even if I'm denying half of myself, So if I'm saying that I'm just light, I don't have dark, that I'm just happiness, I don't have sadness, then I will just live half of my experience. And then I will go to life, and life is wise. So life is going to bring to me people who are going to show me the other half that I'm trying to ignore. And then we say, oh, I don't know why these things keep happening to me. People come to me and they are, so negative, and they keep complaining about life and all of that. And my question here and curiosity is, okay, do you believe that you also have this within you? Because we do. We do have everything we see in others. And sometimes this is really hard to accept. And there's an extreme example normally I give is people say, oh, I wasn't able to kill another human being. This is a very extreme example. And yeah, we are. Because we have these instincts. Imagine if you are in a situation that you had to defend yourself. Otherwise, you would get killed. You would do it. You would do it for sure. So that's why when we look at these things, we're like, we have everything within us. We have all of these resources, and sometimes they are useful. Because if you are in a situation that is very life-threatening and it's dangerous, you need to defend yourself. And it's useful for you to have that resource. You don't need to use that all the time, obviously, but it's there if you need it.
This comes back to us being here for the experience. When you're capable of doing that, you then have the choice to do it or not. If you weren't capable of negativity, then you wouldn't have the choice to be positive, and there wouldn't be any empowerment that comes from that.
Yeah, sure, definitely, yes. So authenticity is, okay, I'm not denying any part of myself. I know I have everything, and I have the choice to decide what I want to do, what I feel like doing. And even if I'm not feeling, if I'm deciding from my mind, that's okay. I can be aware of that or not, or experience the byproduct of that. That's okay. That's fine.
Absolutely. Beautiful. I reckon we're coming up on time, so we should wrap up there. We still had plenty of other things that we were going to discuss, but I feel like that took a pretty nice path there. So I was going to conclude with a question. What do you feel has been one of your biggest life lessons?
I need to feel that. So many, really. First of all, to connect with my true nature. And to realize that I am welcome as I am here and now. Yes.
Nice. Did you have anything else you wanted to share, a takeaway message about authenticity, or anything that you feel that you want to express at this point?
Well, I think I said what I feel about all of that, about embracing all we are, and to give ourselves permission to experience whatever comes to our experience, really. It's just to embrace everything that comes. And sometimes people can think, oh yeah, right, but it's hard sometimes, it's painful and all of that. It's part of the journey. It's part of the journey. Sometimes we need to feel all of that to experience that polarity, we can say, so then we can go to the other side as well and to balance everything. So just, be who you are and embrace that. I think that's the main message here. that I
Yeah,
would like
absolutely.
to leave. So, and thank you so much, Jeremy, because we had all of this idea of what we wanted to discuss here. And it's so beautiful to see how we can co-create and things just come as they need to be. And it's so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to have you on. This was awesome.
As always, when you stop recording, you go on to have some really good conversations. I didn't get to record the part where I really commented and praised Claudia for her level of presence and engaging conversation, so I want to use this. So thank you, Claudia. I really appreciate this conversation, and I'm thanking you for being on the Chi podcast. If you want to hear more from Claudia, you'll be able to find links in the show notes, or simply go to @YourUniqueMovement on Instagram and you'll be able to find her. Thank you from JC on the Chi podcast.